When you have been a coach for as long as I've been a coach, at a certain point, obviously, you start noticing trends among your clients. You start seeing similar problems, similar patterns, and you also start noticing common characteristics of the people who make the most progress the fastest. If you are struggling with unwanted intrusive thoughts about your partner's past, I think you're going to want to see today's video, in which I speak about the common characteristics of people who beat retroactive jealousy fast. My name is Zachary Stockill, and since 2013, I've been helping men and women from all over the world overcome retroactive jealousy and save their relationships. If you would like more information about my work or you'd like to work with me one-on-one, please visit my website at retroactivejealousy.com. For the people here for the first time, the term retroactive jealousy refers to unwanted intrusive thoughts, often obsessive curiosity, and what I like to call mental movies about your partner's past relationships and or sexual/dating history. So as I mentioned a moment ago, I've been a coach since 2013. I've really got more intense about coaching, more or less doing it full time about 10 years ago. So I've seen a lot. I've worked with over 1,000 people one-on-one, retroactive jealousy sufferers from around the world. And I've started to notice some common characteristics of people who beat retroactive jealousy fast. I'm not talking about the people who suffer for many months or sometimes many years on end. I'm talking about the people who want to get this stuff handled and they want to beat it fast. So if you're struggling with retroactive jealousy right now as you're watching this, you might be able to learn from this. The number one characteristic is these are people who are highly committed, highly invested. I mean, these are people who have set a certain amount of time. Sometimes these are people who have set a certain amount of financial resources, whether they want to hire me or whether they want to hire someone else, whatever. They are invested with their time and to a certain extent their resources in getting this problem handled for good. They are not just hoping that free stuff is going to do this on its own, right? And obviously, I offer a lot of free stuff. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos, blog posts, podcasts. And if that's all you want, no problem at all. But whether you work with me or whether you work with someone else, quite often when we're trying to solve a complicated problem like retroactive jealousy, it's going to require a certain degree of investment, not only of our finances, but also our time. So I'm not suggesting that this is something you have to do full time. For example, I always say you don't want to switch from being obsessed with your partner's past to becoming obsessed with overcoming your partner's past, right? I've received correspondence and I've even been on coaching calls with people who tell me, Zach, I watch your YouTube videos 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day. And I'm like, I'm flattered, but that's way too much, Zach, right? You don't want to become obsessed with beating this problem. However, beating this problem, again, takes a certain amount of investment of your time and to some extent, sometimes, of your resources as well. And here's the interesting thing. When you invest your time in something and when you invest a bit of money in something, that means like psychologically something changes there, right? If I sign up for a business coach, if I hire a coach to help me grow my business, by giving him money, I am investing on a different level. The stakes are higher now, so I want to get the absolute maximum benefit I can out of working with this person. And that's true of anything you invest in, right? Let's say you want to learn tennis. If you're just kind of half-assing it and doing it on your own and whatever, like you're not really invested. But if you hire a tennis coach and you say, you know what, I'm going to do this 2 hours a week for the next 3 months or whatever, you are invested, you're taking it more seriously, something shifts upstairs, and you're going to get more benefits out of it, obviously. So all I'm saying to anyone struggling with retroactive jealousy, whether you work with me, whether you work with anyone who knows what they're talking about, it's going to take a certain amount of investment if you want results fast. Another characteristic of people who beat retroactive jealousy fast is they don't have a victim complex. They're not a victim in their lives. They don't think of themselves like a victim. They don't speak like a victim. They may talk about problems they're facing, obviously, but the focus is not woe is me and pity me and that kind of thing. The focus is on here's the problem and I want to work towards solutions. One of the reasons I really like coaching as a modality for personal transformation is it's focused on action. It's not about dwelling and lingering in the problem for months on end. It's focused on action. And people who are focused on action in general are not victims. So untangling a victim complex is very complicated. It's a long it would require a much longer video than I have time for today. But if you feel or sense any kind of a victim complex in yourself, I promise you that's going to seriously hinder your progress if you want to overcome a challenge like retroactive jealousy. Another component of people who beat retroactive jealousy fast is they have the values question mostly sorted. So in other words, they don't feel there's this massive gulf between their values and their partner's values. They're relatively clear that while they may not love their partner's past, they can live with it. Again, they don't necessarily have to condone it, but they don't think their partner's past was the worst thing in the world. They don't think their partner betrayed them in some way. Their partner's past is just something they don't love to think about and they want to move forward. And they don't sense a massive gulf in values between themselves and their partner. So a classic example, right? And I use this example in discussions about values because values matter a lot. So if there is a former priest or preacher suffering from retroactive jealousy, and he's dating, let's say, a former OnlyFans model or a former porn star, just extremely, extreme example, right? Is it possible to overcome retroactive jealousy in that scenario? My answer is maybe, but in all likelihood, the gulf in values between those two people is likely irreconcilable. You're probably not going to bridge that gap because in all likelihood, I'm playing to stereotypes here, but bear with me. In all likelihood, the preacher and the porn star have radically and have had throughout their lives radically different values. Now, sometimes, again, with a seriously open minds and a lot of healing, sometimes gulfs like that can be overcome, but not always. If you feel there's an enormous gulf between your values and your partner's values, it becomes much, much, much more difficult to overcome retroactive jealousy, especially to overcome retroactive jealousy quickly. If you're watching this video and you feel like you saw some of yourself in this video, if you're struggling with unwanted, intrusive thoughts about your partner's past and you're ready to get moving forward, click the link above my head or click a link in the description of this video to learn more about working with me one-on-one. If you click above, that'll take you to my coaching page. You can learn about some of my past clients, learn a little bit about how we would work together, and you'll get more details about working with me one-on-one to overcome retroactive jealousy as quickly as possible. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. My name is Zachary Stockill. If you benefited from this video, please click the like button below. Please also be sure you are subscribed to my channel. And while you're at it, leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. I would like to hear from you. Good, bad, or ugly. I don't really care. I like to get the feedback, so don't be shy. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.